This little Foursquare chart is going to tell you whether or not your church is growing or dying. And the first thing you need to do if you want to decide if your church is growing or dying is you need to draw this exact same thing on a piece of paper in front of you. Save this video, come back to it, and do this exercise. It's going to take you more than a couple of minutes, but I'm going to explain it for you right here. So you draw this Foursquare. On the left side, we've got spiritual impact, low to high, reaching people outside of our church, reaching people inside of our church. And what you're going to do is you're going to think about all of the ministries, programs, and outreaches you have, and you are going to plot them on this chart based on whether or not that's something that reaches people outside of your church or inside of your church, and if it has a low spiritual impact or a higher spiritual impact. You'll end up with a nice little distribution graph here, but what really matters is which quadrant those things fall into. You want stuff that is above the line, right? Things that have a high spiritual impact are above the line. We want stuff like that as a church because there's lots of organizations that can do things really well that we aren't called to do. The purpose of a church is to help people grow spiritually. Anything that's in this box, we would traditionally call evangelization. It reaches people with a high spiritual impact who are outside of our church. Anything in this box, we call formation. It helps people inside of our church grow spiritually. And ideally, the people in this box are helping to fill the things in this box. You want to have almost all of your programs up in these two things. Now, these bottom boxes, outside of the church with a low spiritual impact, those are community events. It's okay to have some of those, church picnics, outreach efforts, but we always want to be thinking, how do we move people who are experiencing us in this box up to this box? And this one's the dangerous one. This is a social club. It's when we have cliquey things at our church that people go to and they're not really growing spiritually. It's all internal. These things often take up a lot of time, space, and resources, and we oftentimes end up creating church cultures around the social clubs that we have. So after you've charted this all out, if you have a lot of programs and ministries and outreaches in these two bottom boxes, you are probably dying as a church because you are not feeding people spiritually. The purpose of a church is to feed people spiritually. If you've got a ton of people in this formation box, it's time to start thinking about how you empower them to go out and to share the good news and to evangelize. And if you've got a lot of things in this evangelization box, that's great, but you've got to start asking, how are we feeding all of those people who are evangelizing? So if you've got a lot of stuff up here, your church is probably growing. If you got a lot of ministries and programs down here, it's time to think about the culture of your church because your church is probably dying because you're not feeding people, and that's what a church is supposed to do. That's a Foursquare. Write it out on your own. Figure out how you're doing. Let me know, is your church growing or dying? And if it's dying, we should talk.